What's up, everyone? This is Professor G, and today on Ask a Consejero, Ask a Counselor, we're gonna talk about what's a California resident. Well, when you're talking about colleges, especially public schools, there's two types of fees that they charge, right? And this is California community colleges, universities of California, or the California State Universities. So, those this obviously includes the UCCSUs, which are those last two. Um, there's two fees. There's California resident fee, and then there's non-resident fee. So let's start with non-residents. Non-residents are students who have, not been living in California continuously within the last year. And so, kind of a rule of thumb is that someone who has lived in California for more than a year, more than likely, is going to be a California resident. But you got to have at least, bare minimum, more than a year living in California. The more years that you have living in California and the more things you've done to establish residency in California will then automatically make you kind of a California resident. Me, when I was in school, I was born and raised in California, and I never left California. So, or moved out of California. I did leave California. I've been all over the place, but I come back home to California. So I'm a California resident. How do they know? Well, I have a California driver's license, right? That is big time. Once you have a California driver's license, it is believed that you're a resident of the state. If you buy a house in California, you pay, taxes in California, those kinds of things. When you do your income taxes, that means you're a California resident. That if you're paying taxes in the state, you're automatically a California resident. And it has to be like within the last year or more. So since I've never left, it's automatic that I'm a California resident. But schools make mistakes, so you always want to make sure you're getting, you are placed in the right category. So if you're going to a community college and you're wondering, well, am I a California resident or not? The quickest way to determine that is how much money do they charge you when you sign up for a class? If you're a California resident in the system, then the system, right, the college is going to charge you about $46 per unit. And so if you're taking a 3-unit class, it's going to be almost $150 or a little bit more because there's these other little fees that they get you for with like a health fee, a student representation fee, those kinds of things. And so all schools have these little additional fees. They're not a whole lot. They're definitely under $100. So you're always, technically you're getting charged $46 per unit plus a few other bucks for some of these other fees. So a 3-unit class is going to be about $150. And so if you take 10 units, right, now you're looking at, 46 times 10, which is going to be about $460 for fees. So if you see that you're getting charged the $46 per unit, then you're a California resident in the system automatically. Now, sometimes students come to me and go, "Hey, Mauricio, I'm getting charged, a ton of money." And I'll ask them, "How much are you getting charged?" They say, "Well, I signed up for 3 units, and I'm getting charged over $1,000." And I said, "Okay, that automatically tells me that in the system you have been tagged as a non-resident, because non-residents pay something like $350 per unit." So if this student told me they signed up for 3 units, well, 350, times 3, it's over $1,000. So I will automatically know, how much or what the system has classified them as. Now, if the system hasn't made a mistake and you're cool, then you're a resident or you're a non-resident, because there's students who do pay non-resident fees. And, those include like international students. If you're an international student, you pay international, you're an international student, so you pay non-resident tuition, which is the higher tuition, right? Same class, same professor, same chair, doesn't matter. It's resident or non-resident. And so that's how the system does it. Now, it gets tricky for undocumented students, because undocumented students, if you've been in California a few years and kind of say you did your high school in a few years, and there's other podcasts for undocumented students like AB 540 and Can Undocumented Students Go to College. So you can search for those podcasts where I'm talking very specifically about being an undocumented student and getting through college. But undocumented students, when you first apply, think of it this way: you're put in a non-resident category when you first apply to a college. So if you're an undocumented student and you apply to the college, it's going to put you kind of in a non-resident category. You have to do an additional step, okay? And that is you got to submit a form and in most cases submit like your high school transcript, because this form, and it's called the California Non-Resident Tuition Exemption Form. So this form plus like your high school transcript will prove to the college that you have enough years of a California high school and either graduation from a California high school or GED. And it can be, a mixture of 3 years in public California schools, like, 7th, 8th grade, and then senior year. Okay, so there's your 3 years. And then as long as you graduated or completed a GED in California, that undocumented student will now be moved from non-resident classification to resident classification. And those of you who are undocumented might be hearing this. You definitely want to check with the college, admissions and records office. I mean, what I would do is walk in there one day that you have some time when you're in the process of applying, and just so, hey, can I confirm that I'm a California resident or a non-resident for tuition purposes in the system? And if you're an undocumented student and they tell you, oh, you're a non-resident, you tell them, hey, I think I qualify for this thing called AB 540, which says, I went to high school or middle school in California, or even community college classes in California for a minimum of 3 years, and also have a high school GED from California or a high school diploma from California, one of those. You would then fill out the form that will move you from non-resident to resident tuition. And then that opens up a bunch of doors for you as undocumented students to other programs and other types of financial aid. And again, just watch out for one of our other podcasts, or just, do your searches on our other podcasts for undocumented students and financial aid and those kinds of things, so we can talk to you a little bit more about those kinds of details. But at the end of the day, anyone can go to a community college. The difference is what they're going to charge you. And for the most part, people attending like a community college or UC, CSU, the majority of them, I would say 80-90% of those students are going to be California residents. And then, 5-10% of those students are going to be non-residents. And that includes, like I said, some undocumented students, actually all of the international students, those kinds of students, so will be the non-resident. If you were undocumented, but if you finish, some California schools, go see your counselor. Talk to them about it. Go to the Rasa Center. I'm sure most colleges now have like a Rasa Center or people who a group where you can go and kind of learn more about some of the things that pertain to undocumented students. I've seen some campuses have undocu centers, undocu scholar centers, or AB 540 groups. Those kinds of things. Those are safe havens, and they're very knowledgeable people that are there to really inform our undocumented populations on how to figure out this resident or non-resident thing. But at the end of the day, you're either a California resident for tuition purposes or you're a non-resident for tuition purposes, and the way you're going to know is the massive price differences. And if there's ever any question, go ask someone at admissions and records office, go ask someone in the counseling office, in the EOPS office, and ask a bunch of people. Don't ever just ask one. And that's another thing. On a college campus, you don't know how much training that person has that you're asking. Sometimes there's student assistants, sometimes it's classified professionals, sometimes it's faculty, sometimes it's management. And so, you might get a different answer, and you really want to make sure you're asking more than one person some of these questions, just in case there is a difference and someone understood what your needs are a little bit differently. They're going to advise you a little bit differently. So always use those people on campus. Worst case scenario, hey, ask a bunch of students and see what they're doing. But try to use the professional staff on your campus, because they're there to help. That's about it for this podcast. So this is Professor G signing off, and keep using our Techo tips to learn more about how to survive college the quickest and most affordable way possible. You have a good night.